Paul of Tarsus, the man who brought Christianity to the Gentiles. Paul called himself an apostle of Christ in Romans chapter 1 verse 1.
Romans chapter 1 verse 1, Paul, a servant of Jesus Christ, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of God.
It is interesting to note that Jesus had warned about the many false prophets, who come, in the name of Christ. Paul and John of Patmos were among those who came in the name of Christ. Paul claimed to have met Jesus on his way to Damascus, in the wilderness. Paul heard the voice calling him but did not see the face of Christ.
Matthew chapter 24 verse 5, For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many.
That was what actually happened to Paul. And he was deceived by that.
Matthew chapter 24 verse 23, Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not.
So we have established that Paul was indeed deceived by that encounter with Christ. The false Christ, as you know, Christ will only come in person, in
Matthew chapter 24 verse 29, Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Matthew chapter 24 verse 30, And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
So there is no way Jesus shall come to you in visions and in dreams. Because he said so. So Paul came in the name of Christ instead of in the name of God. The name of the Lord is the God, Allah. So Paul fits into Deuteronomy chapter 18 verse 20, where the prophet shall come not in the name of the God but in other name, such as Christ or Jesus. What is so interesting is that Paul confessed and declared that he was indeed the servant of evil, as mentioned in
Galatians chapter 1 verse 8. But though we, or an angel from heaven, preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. Romans chapter 7 verse 19, For the good that I would, I do not, but the evil, which I would not, that I do. Romans chapter 7 verse 20, Now if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but sin, that dwelleth in me. Romans chapter 7 verse 21, I find then a law, that, when I would do good, evil is present with me. 2 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 16, But be it so, I did not burden you, nevertheless, being crafty, I caught you with guile.
So it is obvious that Paul was indeed an associate of evil. Paul also changed the law of Moses. No prophet, apostle would warn you about the angel from heaven. The angel from heaven, Gabriel, often brings glad tidings. So Paul warned you about an angel from heaven. That speaks volume of his heretical gospel. Interestingly enough, Paul's gospel made up half of the New Testament. And the mainstream Christianity, in fact, are following the teachings of Paul instead of Jesus Christ.